establishing a tradition going forward. This is a terrific idea. I had the pleasure to be with Brad and Ann in Washington as at the formal swearing in. And this really is a far more welcoming and appropriate beginning to Brad's congressional career. I'm reminded with his nonpartisan bipartisanship of John F. Kennedy's inauguration, written by Ted Sullivan in Nebraska, I might add, but one of the most famous inaugural addresses, which begins by saying that this is not a celebration of a party, but a celebration of freedom. And that's true of this event as well. We're not here today to celebrate a victory of party, but really the recognition of Brad and I would say the entire Ashford family. I know for a fact Brad would not have been elected without Ann's participation and contributions. And in fact, the entire Ashford family deserves recognition for Brad's service, because that service has been supported by that family. I had the pleasure of particularly knowing Brad's mother, a great bipartisan figure. She was actually head of Republicans for Kavanaugh in my congressional race. So we go back a long way. And I was happy to see in Brad's office a picture of his father, who was a World War II bomber pilot flying missions over Europe during that magnificent war. So Brad's tradition of public service goes back a long way, and the Ashford family has been major contributors to our community and our state, and in fact this nation's health and security by their history here. So we are particularly pleased at the outcome of this election, and I want to say that Brad's first 2 weeks in the Congress certainly justified the faith and confidence that the people of Nebraska placed in him. He has taken Nebraska to Washington. He has taken that spirit of nonpartisanship that our unique and brilliant Nebraska legislature, the only legislature in the country not organized on a partisan basis. And we actually have 2 of Brad's former colleagues, Senator Amanda McGill, who's now on the staff with Brad, and running, actually, I think, the district office. So Senator McGill is also an alumni of our great legislature, and his former colleague, Steve Lathrop, who has also served on the Judiciary Committee, has served with great distinction for 8 years in the Nebraska legislature. But Brad's brought that message. His first maiden speech in the U.S. Congress was on bipartisanship and his 17 years of experience in the Nebraska legislature, and the fact that this country is now in desperate need of that type of bipartisan, nonpartisan address to the very great problems that confront us. The people of the 2nd District deserve a lot of credit. This is one of the very few districts left in the country that is considered a swing district, that either party has an opportunity to win and make it competitive. And that's critical to our future, that we be able to change representation, change direction, this district recognize that responsibility and that obligation to the country is important. The fact that Brad recognizes the importance of his role now in the Congress as one who's a bridge builder between the partisan divide is also an important factor for the future of this country. So we can be proud of the people of the 2nd Congressional District for selecting Brad, and all of us here today who have known Brad for a long time can be proud of that association and proud of the fact that we have sent Brad Ashford to represent us in the Congress of the United States. Brad, congratulations.
Now I will come down into the well of the court to do the ceremonial swearing in. You want to get cleared, you want to get you situated so that you can face your friends and you wish to obey.
I do solemnly swear
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
and I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
of the office on which I am about to enter.
of the office upon which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God. Catch my poetry here just a slight bit. First of all, I want to tell you how incredibly honored I am to be going to Washington representing this district and representing all of you, my friends and neighbors. And I'm so proud to have the choir from Westside here. Who could have imagined in 1960, it's hard to believe, 1967, that I would be sitting here at this place. Thank you, John. John Kavanaugh has been a mentor to me throughout so many years. It's hard to explain all the work that we've done together as children, trying to make the world better. John's always doing that and never stops. And Kate, thank you also for being here. Members of the court, I know you all, and because I'm at that age, you're not necessarily, but I am. And I have been in your courtrooms and over the years, and my career as being a member of the Bar Association, being a lawyer, working in the legislature, on the Judiciary Committee, and working with this court and other courts throughout the state has been one of the greatest honors in my life. Thank you for the wonderful work you do, and the message that you send to all Nebraskans. I do want to introduce a couple of family members that are also here. Kristen Matson, my sister-in-law, is here, and Scott Anderson, my cousin, Mary Kay's son, Carol's brother, and Carol's children, and thank you for all for coming. And Mark, thank you for all the work you do. I've known Mark Martinez for a long time, and it's great that he's in the position that he's in. We're honored to have him. thank all the personnel of this building. The work that is done by employees of the court system, the federal government generally is incredible. And through these times, in the last several years where we've had cutbacks in our budgets, and the federal workers generally, and certainly the court personnel in this court, have had to deal with that and had to meet that challenge, which they have done. And we're hopeful as we move forward in the Congress that we can address some of those needs. But thank you for all you do for all of us in this district and all the federal workers across the country. Thank you, Steve. Tom Monahan. Steve and I worked together for many years on many tough issues. Amanda McGill, Senator McGill, thank you for all your work in the legislature. Tom Monahan is U.S. Attorney and a representative of our country, actually, in Kosovo, and as U.S. Attorney. Admirable work was done by Tom and his family in a very, very difficult, war-torn country. I am also pleased and honored to be in the Roman Ruska courtroom as courthouse as was suggested by Judge Smithcamp. I do recall, sitting outside of the Senator Ruska's office building, the Russell building, I believe that was his building, and 45 years ago, and looking down the mall, which I do still jog around, even today, and did throughout my legislative career, not that mall, but in Lincoln, and looking down the mall to the Washington Monument and Lincoln Memorial, and 45 years ago, thinking to myself at 19 or 20 years old, my goodness, I'd sure like to have one of these jobs like Senator Ruska had. And, as has been sort of intimated a little bit, I've had a bit of a serpentine way of getting here, but I am here now, and it is truthfully, as I've mentioned, a great honor and challenge. And I think often of Senator Ruska and his very jovial laugh. And, he did work very hard on judiciary issues. You know, Ed Zorinsky, or the paraphrase of what Ed Zorinsky said, we're across the street, a building named after Senator Zorinsky, to kind of paraphrase, carrying out what Judge Smithcamp said and John Kavanaugh said, we are members of the United States Congress, not the Democratic or Republican Congress. And once we, and I and my colleagues, 434 of them, that's a big number, walked into that chamber to be sworn in, once that swearing in occurred, we were no longer Democrat candidates or Republican candidates, but we were U.S. representatives. And I'll tell you, that is the Nebraska way. And I did have an opportunity to give a speech on the floor. And I think I remind my colleagues, and they're a little bit tired of it, because we have these little meetings, and everyone has something to say. And I actually am a member of a couple of groups that are very nonpartisan, Republicans and Democrat members getting together. And it comes to me, and I say, well, you know, we have a unicameral legislature. Yes, Brad, we know that now. And in addition to that, it's nonpartisan. Yes, we know it's nonpartisan. Thank you very much. And then it was started by George Norris, a senator from Nebraska who came back here and got the unicameral started. Yes, we know the history. And I'm just going to continue to talk to him about that. Because I think it is our way. It is our way. And Amanda and Steve know what it's like to serve in a body like that, where on great measures, great issues of our time that we deal with in our legislature, normally we have maybe on a bad day 2 or 3 no votes. Whether it's the issues of immigration, taxes, whatever it may be, judicial issues, legal issues, of which we have many that we deal with. We very rarely have more than 2 or 3 votes, and many, many times, and most times, it's unanimous, whether it's the environment, whatever it is. That's because we work together. We build relationships, and we care about each other as people. And that has to be returned to our Congress. And the one, I will tell you, there is good news. There is good news on 2 fronts. The first front is the American people spoke in the last election, in my view, and they said enough is enough. Enough is enough. They weren't saying it's enough Republicans or enough Democrats. They're just saying enough is enough. Enough is enough. It's time to end the gridlock. It's time to build relationships. It's time to find solutions. I always, and I kid, Steve's more 100% rule. I take the 70% rule, which is if I get 70% on what I want, that's good enough. And Amanda often would give her, wag her finger and say, no, you gotta hold out for 100. I said, 70's okay. So I say to my colleagues in the Congress, and I do it all the time, and I do it on the floor, and that was, 70%'s okay. Because 70 can go to 80 the next year, and 90 the next year, and 100% the next year. And we can get to where we need to be. So that's the Nebraska way. Now let me conclude by saying that I will always put my constituents above party. Always. Every single time. I will always do that. And I will always put my constituents, you in this room and everyone else that lives in this area and lives in this state, I will always put you ahead of special interests. They're not that they're not important. Well, I'll listen to anybody. But what's really important and what's really critical to our future is the ability of all of us in Congress not to be, as Ed Zorinsky put it so well, not Republican members or Democrat members, but members of the United States Congress. Thank you very much.